What if I told you? Most liars don't look nervous, they don't avoid eye contact, they don't fidget. In fact, the best liars look completely normal. So if body language can be faked, how do you actually catch a lie? There's a method used by people who don't rely on guesses, but on patterns you can't control. A system similar to what would use where instead of watching harder, you think deeper, and once you see it, you'll start noticing lies in conversations you thought were real. Never calls someone a liar. He proves it. While everyone else reacts to words, he observes patterns. Small shifts in behavior, tiny inconsistencies, things most people ignore. Because to him, people are predictable, not by what they say, but by what they can't control. And in this video, you're going to learn that same mindset. Not tricks, not guesses, but a system to see through lies without ever confronting them. 1. Baseline, understanding a person's truth pattern. Before you can spot a lie, you need something most people completely ignore, a baseline. Kiyotaka Ayanokoji doesn't assume, he observes first. He pays attention to how a person normally speaks. Their tone, pacing, eye contact, and natural gestures. This is their truth version, the version that doesn't require effort. The moment someone lies, they're no longer natural. They're performing, and performance always creates subtle friction. It might show up as a slight pause before answering, a shift in tone or body language that becomes either too stiff or unnaturally controlled. Most people look for obvious signs, but that's where they fail. The real key is change. Even a small deviation from a person's baseline is a signal, and when multiple small changes appear together, it stops being random and starts forming a pattern. So instead of trying to read people instantly, focus on understanding how they behave when they're telling the truth, because only then will you notice the exact moment they stop. 2. Behavioral shifts. Detecting sudden changes. Behavioral shifts are where lies begin to surface, not in obvious ways, but through subtle changes most people ignore. Kiyotaka Ayanokoji focuses on deviations, not dramatic signals. When a person lies, their brain is under pressure, and that pressure leaks into their behavior. You might notice a slight pause before they answer, a change in tone, or eye contact that suddenly feels forced or unusually controlled. Sometimes their body becomes stiff, or the opposite. They start overusing gestures to appear natural, but none of these signs alone prove anything. The key is clustering. When multiple SMA changes appear together, that's when it stops being random and starts becoming meaningful. Most people fail because they chase obvious signs, but real observation is quieter than that. It's about comparing how someone is now to how they were before. Because a lie doesn't create a new personality, it distorts the original one. And if you're paying attention, even that slight distortion becomes impossible to ignore. 3. Verbal inconsistencies. When words stop matching reality. When someone lies, controlling their body is hard, but controlling their story is even harder. That's why verbal inconsistencies are one of the strongest indicators. Ayanokoji doesn't just listen to what is being said, he analyzes how it's being constructed. Liars often fall into 2 patterns. They either give too much detail to sound convincing, or they stay vague to avoid getting caught. You'll hear unnecessary specifics in one moment, and then missing clarity in another. Timelines start to feel off, small gaps appear, or the sequence of events becomes slightly confusing. And the more they talk, the harder it becomes to maintain that false version. Because the truth is stable, it doesn't require effort to remember. But a lie has to be managed, adjusted, and protected. That's why if you revisit the same story later, even with a small change in how you ask, cracks begin to show. The key here is not to interrupt or challenge immediately, but to quietly track inconsistencies over time. Because in the end, people don't expose their lies through one big mistake. They reveal them through small contradictions they can't keep consistent. 4. Controlled pressure. Exposing the cracks without confrontation. Once you've observed patterns and noticed inconsistencies, the next step isn't confrontation, it's controlled pressure. Ayanokoji never rushes to expose a lie. Instead, he creates conditions where the lie becomes difficult to maintain. This is done by asking the same question again, but from a different angle, or by focusing on small, unexpected details the person didn't prepare for. When someone is telling the truth, their answers remain stable, even under variation. But when someone is lying, every new angle introduces stress. Their responses may slightly shift, become defensive, or lose clarity. The key is subtlety. You're not attacking, you're observing under pressure. Even your silence becomes a tool, forcing them to fill gaps they weren't ready for. Over time, this pressure reveals something important. Truth stays consistent, but a lie starts to bend. And once it bends enough, it doesn't need to be exposed, it exposes itself. 5. Strategic silence. Let them reveal more than they intended. Most people think questioning is the best way to uncover a lie, but sometimes saying nothing is far more powerful. Strategic silence creates pressure that words cannot. After someone answers, instead of responding immediately, you pause and just observe. Maintain eye contact, stay neutral, and let the silence sit. For someone telling the truth, silence isn't a problem. They've already said what's real. But for someone lying, silence feels uncomfortable. It creates a need to justify, to add more, to make the story sound stronger. And that's where mistakes begin. They start giving extra details you never asked for, over-explaining simple things, or even subtly correcting themselves without realizing it. This isn't interrogation, it's patience. Because when you remove your reaction, you remove their guidance. And without that, a liar often ends up revealing more than they ever intended. 6. Emotional detachment. Observe without bias. The final step, and the one most people struggle with, is emotional detachment. Because the moment you get emotionally involved, your observation becomes biased. If you like someone, you start ignoring red flags. If you're angry, you start seeing lies even where there are none. Ayanokoji avoids both extremes. He doesn't react, he analyzes. No sympathy, no frustration, no urgency to prove a point. Just calm, controlled observation. This allows him to see patterns clearly, without distortion. Because lie detection isn't about being aggressive, it's about being accurate. When you stay neutral, you give yourself the ability to process information logically instead of emotionally. And that's what separates guesswork from precision. In the end, the goal isn't to catch someone in a lie, it's to understand what's actually true. And for that, clarity will always outperform emotion. So now, you've learned how to spot a lie, but understanding deception isn't the same as controlling yourself around it. Because if you're not calm, not detached, not calculated, then even after seeing the truth, you'll react, and the moment you react, you lose the advantage. That's why what's on your screen right now matters. If you want to actually think cold, stay in control, and read situations without emotion, this is your next step. Kiyotaka Ayanokoji doesn't just detect lies, he controls the entire interaction, and that's the level you should aim for. Thank you all of you guys for watching. I'm about to shift my content to a much more advanced level, deeper psychology, sharper thinking, and real systems you can actually use. And I've already uploaded a video on my backup channel. So if you're serious about leveling up, go check that out. Because spotting lies is just the beginning, mastering yourself is where it actually starts.